Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4, Chapter number 19, titled King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. Text 1. Maitreya Vacha Atadiksata Rajatu Atadiksata Rajatu Hayameda Satenasa Hayameda Satenasa Brahmavarte Manukshetre Brahmavarte Manukshetre Yatra Prachi Sarasvati Yatra Prachi Sarasvati Maitreya Vacha Atadikshata Rajatu Hayameda Satenasa Brahmavarte Manushetre Yatra Prachi Sarasvati Maitreya Vacha Atadiksata Rajatu Hayameda Satenasa Brahmavarte Manushetre Yatra Prachi Sarasvati. Word for word translation. Maitreya Vacha. The sage Maitreya said, Atha thereafter, Adi Shata took initiation. Raja, the king. Tu, then. Haya, horse. Meda, sacrifices. Satena, to perform 100. Sa, he. Brahmavarte, known as Brahmavarta. Manoho, of Swayambhav Manu. Kshetre, in the land. Yatra, where. Prachi, eastern. Saraswati, the river named Saraswati. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, King Prithu initiated the performance of 100 horse sacrifices at the spot where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. This piece of land is known as Brahmavarta, and it was controlled by Swayambhava Manu. Text number 2. Tad abhipretya bhagavan karma tisayam atmanaha satakratu namamrise ritor yagna mahotsavam. Translation. When the most powerful Indra, the king of heaven, saw this, he considered the fact that King Prithu was going to exceed him in fruitive activities. Thus, Indra could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. Purport. In the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. This envy is also found in the personality of the King of Heaven, Indra. As evident from revealed scriptures, Indra was several times envious of many persons. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities in the execution of yoga practices or siddhis. Indeed, he could not tolerate them, and he desired to break them up. He was envious due to fear that those who performed great sacrifices for the execution of mystic yoga might occupy his seat. Since no one in this material world can tolerate another's advancement, everyone in the material world is called Matsara, envious. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is therefore said that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who are completely nirmatsara, non-envious. In other words, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. However, when one is envious of his competitor, that is material. The demigods posted in the material world are not exempt from envy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksu Amritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we started a new chapter today, chapter number 19 of 4th canto, titled King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. So in this chapter we will see, as we read in text 1 of this chapter, that King Prithu on the bank of river Saraswati is now going to perform 100 horse sacrifices. And Indra from the heavenly planets, he is watching all of this happening. And it is said in Shastra that If someone can do 100 horse sacrifices, then he automatically attains to qualification to become Indra. Just like, to go to a particular university, one needs certain qualification. Different universities, they have different benchmarks, to how much marks you need to get. If someone can score a certain amount of marks, then they qualify to enter a university. Same thing with different jobs, they require different qualifications. So in the same way, to become Indra, Indra is the name of a post. It's not the name of a person. So just like we have finance minister, sports minister, prime minister, so on and so forth. These are all posts. And the post of prime minister can be taken by anyone. In the same way, Indra is a post. And our current Indra, his name is Purandara. Yes. So our current Indra, his name is Purandara. In the next Manvantara, Bali Maharaj, he will become the next Indra actually. So Indra is a post, and just like here in this material world, if we want to qualify to go to a certain school, a certain university, or if we want to qualify to take up a particular job or post in a company, we need to become qualified before we can attain that post. So in the same way, according to Shastra, if one can do 100 horse sacrifices, then he has that qualification to take the post of Indra. So Indra from the heavenly planets is watching this King Prithu. He's now doing all these horse sacrifices. And very soon he will see that he's done 99 horse sacrifices, and he's just about to do his 100th horse sacrifice. Then Indra, immediately he becomes worried that this king on planet Earth, King Prithu, he's already done 99 horse sacrifices. If he does just one more, then he'll hit 100. And after crossing 100, he will become qualified to become Indra, and then he will come and take up my post. Then I won't be Indra any longer. So in this way, Indra, he becomes worried. He becomes insecure. And as Prabhupada is explaining in today's purport, Indra becomes envious of King Prithu. That, oh no, this person, this king, he is going to outdo me in fruitive activities. And in the whole purport today, Prabhupada is just discussing about this anartha of envy. How everyone in this material world, they are actually envious. They have this disease of envy. So it's said in Shastra, the root cause of us being here in this material world is because we are envious of Krishna. That is the root cause of us being here in this material world. And as an expansion of that envy of Krishna, we become envious of other jivas. We become envious of other living entities who seem to be doing better than us. So Prabhupada says this is the root cause of us being here in this material world. So we can discuss a bit about envy, how to overcome it. In 7th canto of Bhagavatam, after Prahlad Maharaj's pastimes, in the second half of 7th canto, we see a conversation between Narad Muni and Maharaj Yudhishthira. So in that conversation, in one chapter, chapter 15, Narad Muni in a few verses, he gives different spiritual solutions to common material problems. So these verses are there in chapter 15 of 7th canto. They're spoken by Narad Muni himself. So he gives a list of different common material problems that everyone faces, and along with those problems, Narad Muni, he gives spiritual solutions into how we can overcome these problems. So one of the problems Narad Muni talks about is envy, and along with that he talks many others. So we can go through that. First three he mentions. This is mentioned in Gita actually. In the, I think, chapter 16 of Gita, Krishna talks about divine and demoniac qualities, right? And Krishna says there's 3 gateways to hell. Who can say what are the 3 gateways to hell? Yes, Agapu? Yes, lust, anger, and greed. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, these are the 3 gateways to hell. You open one of these gateways, you open one of these doors, you will go straight to hell. This is how we enter into the hellish planets. So Krishna says we should be careful about these three anarthas: lust, anger, and greed. So the very first thing Narad Muni talks about is how to overcome these three anarthas in chapter 15 of 7th canto. So gateway to hell number 1, lust. How do we overcome lust? Narad Muni says, by making plans with determination, one can give up lusty desires. One can give up desires for sense gratification. So what does it mean to make plans with determination? It means we must make a sankalpa. Just like at the time of initiation, we make a sankalpa, right? That, today I'm going to take Diksha, and I make a vow, I make a determination that I will follow these 4 regulative principles. No matter whatever happens, I will not break any one of these 4 regulative principles. So that's an example of making a plan with determination, making a sankalpa. That this is bad, I'm not going to do it, like that. So we should be, with that strong determination, if we make a plan, Narad Muni explains, we can overcome lusty desires. Just like yesterday, I was sharing Prabhupada, his instructions to Bhakti Chara Maharaj. Prabhupada was telling Bhakti Chara Maharaj once that, so many lifetimes we've given to the illusory energy. Just this one lifetime, just give to Krishna. Just make this determination, make this vow, that this whole lifetime, just dedicate to Krishna. So like that, we need to make firm determination that yes, I won't engage in lusty activities, I won't engage in sense gratification. This one life I'm going to give fully to Krishna. I'm going to engage fully in devotional service. So by making a sankalpa like that, one can overcome lusty desires. Then, next is greed, lust, anger. Next is anger. So how to overcome anger? Narad Muni says, by giving up envy, one can overcome anger. So what is the connection between envy and anger? If we contemplate a little bit, we can understand that envy means someone who is doing better than us. Just like with Indra and Prithu Maharaj here. Indra is watching that Prithu Maharaj, soon he is going to overtake him in terms of horse sacrifices or in terms of piety or pious activities. So when he sees King Prithu about to overtake him, Indra immediately becomes envious. So we only envy someone who's doing better than us. And generally, what's the next stage of envy? When we see someone doing better than us, we become frustrated, we become angry. That how is it that this person, how is it that he or she is doing better than me, I'm supposed to be the greatest, this is, my field, I'm supposed to be the best in this. How can someone else overtake me? So when we see someone overtaking us, we immediately become frustrated. And frustration soon leads to anger. So that's why Narad Muni says, if you want to overcome anger, firstly you give up envy. Firstly, give up being envious of others. If we can give up this anartha of envy, Narad Muni explains, we can overcome anger. So how to overcome envy? This is not mentioned by Narad Muni in 7th canto, but this is a quote by Prabhupada. When Prabhupada was asked by one devotee, he was saying, sometimes I become envious of other devotees when they're doing better than me. The way Prabhupada responded to that was, Prabhupada said that envy is simply indirect appreciation of another devotee's service. So Prabhupada said, instead of indirectly appreciating someone for being better than you, you just directly appreciate. So as I was explaining before, we only envy someone who is doing better than us. So Prabhupada said, envy simply means we're indirectly appreciating someone else who is doing better than us. So instead of indirectly appreciating, Prabhupada says, why not just directly appreciate? Instead of being envious and thinking, oh, how can he do better than me? Or how can she do better than me? Why not just directly appreciate that, yes, he's doing better than me. Yes, she's doing better than me. What a wonderful devotee he is or she is. What wonderful seva they're doing. So in this way, Prabhupada says we should directly appreciate instead of indirectly appreciating and becoming envious. That way, Prabhupada says we can overcome envy. Similar thing Prabhupada is saying in the purport. In the purport, Prabhupada is saying, in Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. So this is called directly appreciating. Instead of becoming envious, we should just directly appreciate that, yes, this devotee is doing better than me. Yes, what a wonderful devotee, with what wonderful consciousness, he's doing this seva. Such wonderfully he's doing this seva. He must have the blessings of his spiritual master or her spiritual master. So like this, we should directly appreciate. Then we will make spiritual advancement. And not only that, the Shastras explain, if we directly appreciate someone else's good qualities and we serve them, we get 1/6 of their good qualities. On the other hand, if we indirectly appreciate and if we become envious, we will go backwards. We will go, it will lead to frustration, then it will lead to anger. And as Krishna says in the Gita, anger is one of the gateways to hell. So slowly we will, instead of going towards Krishna, we'll start going towards the hellish planets. So that's the second material problem Narad Muni talks about, anger. So number one was lust. We can overcome lust by making plans with determination. Number two is anger. We can overcome anger by giving up envy. Number three is greed. So how to overcome greed? Narad Muni says one can overcome greed by discussing or contemplating the disadvantages of accumulating wealth. So by contemplating and thinking, what are the disadvantages of accumulating wealth? One can overcome this desire of getting more and more. One can overcome greed. For example, if we quickly try to contemplate now, the more money we have, actually the more stress and anxiety that will come. There is, the stress will come or anxiety of, family members or friends, stealing that money. And then there's the anxiety of how to secure that money safely. One will always be in anxiety, oh, this might get stolen, that might get stolen. And then to accumulate that wealth, so much hard work and endeavor needs to be put in, right? One has to work so many hours during the week. One has to work overtime to accumulate the wealth. So much time, anxiety, hard labor goes into getting the money. Then even after we get the money, still there is more stress and anxiety into how to keep that money safe and protect it from thieves, protect it from people who want to, steal it from us, so on and so forth. So in this way, by contemplating the disadvantages of accumulating more and more wealth, one can overcome greed. So these are the first three material problems Narad Muni talks about. Then next, he talks about fear, how to overcome fear. So the spiritual solution Narad Muni gives for overcoming fear is by discussing the truth, or by discussing absolute knowledge, by discussing the truth or Shastra, one can overcome fear. Just like, sometimes we have this fear, when it comes to a particular seva. For example, let's say we go out to distribute books, So anyone who's distributing books for the first time, he'll always have this fear, what will people say? People might swear at me. What will happen? I will get 0 score. So there's so much fear, anxiety of what people will say to me, how people will perceive me, think about me, what will happen to my image. Will people chastise me, swear at me? Like this, there's so many, mental fears that's there in our mind when we go out to distribute books, initially. But Narad Muni says all these fears that we have in our minds, one can overcome by discussing the truth. So what is the truth? The truth is that Krishna is there within our heart as Paramatma. Radha Gopinath are personally there with us. The whole Guru Parampara, they're there with us. Tulsi Marni, she's there with us around our neck. Nrsimha Dev, he's around our neck. So we have everyone with us on our side. So what need is there of any fear? what harm can come upon us. We have Krishna on our side. Krishna is personally there, seated within our hearts, and He's there to help us. He's there to protect us. So why should we be afraid? So in this way, by contemplating the truth, by contemplating the words of the Shastra, one can overcome all these fears. Same way, if someone wants to join the ashram, become a brahmachari, or someone's taking sannyas, there might be some fears. Who will take care of me? What will happen to me in the future? So on and so forth. But by contemplating the truth, by contemplating the Shastra, one understands that Krishna will maintain me. One can develop that firm conviction. No matter whatever happens, Krishna is there to protect me. Krishna will maintain me. Krishna is maintaining so many other living entities out there. Even the karmis, they're coming to Krishna with mature desires. Krishna is fulfilling them and maintaining even the non-devotees. So why won't He maintain His devotees who dedicate their lives for His service? So in this way, one can overcome those fears also. So that's the spiritual solution Narad Muni gives for overcoming fear. One can overcome fear by discussing the truth. Then, next comes lamentation and illusion. How to overcome lamentation and illusion. The solution Narad Muni gives for this is similar to the previous one. By discussing Shastra, Narad Muni says one can overcome lamentation and illusion. And there's so many examples of this we can see. Classical example of this is, who can say, can anyone give an example of someone lamenting about something and then they hear spiritual knowledge and then their lamentation is gone? What's the most famous? Yeah? Okay, Gopis, Mataji is saying in Krishna book, Gopis are lamenting in separation from Krishna, and then Uddhava comes and preaches to them. Okay, yes? Yes, so the most famous example of this is of Krishna and Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Right? In first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we see Arjuna lamenting. He's saying, oh, my Gandiva is slipping. My whole body is shivering. How can I kill my own friends and relatives and family? I can't do this. So Arjuna, he's in deep perplexion. He's in illusion. He's lamenting. And how does he overcome it? He hears Shastra. He hears spiritual wisdom from Krishna. And by hearing wisdom about the body, the soul, about karma, about different types of yoga, finally, at the end of the Gita, what does Arjuna say? Nasta moha smitir labdha, trat prasadan maya chuta, stito asmi gata sandeya, karisya vachanam tava. So after hearing spiritual wisdom, Arjuna says, okay, now all my illusion, all my lamentation is gone. Now I'm ready to fight. Now I'm ready to do as you wish. So this is the effect of studying Shastra. This is the effect of reading Prabhupada's books. This is the effect of hearing Bhagavatam. When we hear Shastra, when we read Shastra, we can overcome all sorts of lamentation. We can overcome all sorts of illusion. And there's so many other examples in Bhagavatam also. Like in 7th canto, when Hiranyaksha, he is killed by Lord Varahadev. At that time, Hiranyaksha's wife and his mother, they're both lamenting that, oh no, our husband died, or oh no, my son died. And they're like, in so much distress and lamentation. Then who comes to the rescue? Hiranyakashipu. He comes and he consoles his mother and his sister-in-law by speaking transcendental knowledge. So just like Krishna speaks transcendental knowledge to Arjuna in the Gita, same thing, Hiranyakashipu starts speaking to his sister-in-law and to his mother. He starts explaining to him about the body and the soul, about destiny, so on and so forth. In this way, by preaching to his mother and to his brother's wife, speaking to them some words from Shastra, Hiranyakashipu is able to pacify his mother and also his brother's wife. So like this, there's so many examples in Shastra. Whenever someone is lamenting about the loss of some dear loved one, or for any other reason, whenever someone is in deep illusion, someone else will come and speak some spiritual wisdom. But just by hearing that spiritual wisdom, their hearts will be pacified. Any other examples? Yeah. Devahuti Kapila. So who was lamenting? Yes, thank you. So Motion Prabhu is giving the example of Mother Devahuti and Kapila Dev. So Mother Devahuti, she was there with her husband Kadamba Muni for many years enjoying. But then suddenly Kadamba Muni, he's leaving the home and he's taking sannyas. So naturally, she's feeling sad, separation from her husband. But Lord Kapila Dev, he's able to pacify Mother Devahuti by giving her spiritual wisdom. Thank you. Any other examples from Bhagavatam or Shastra anyone can think of? There's one famous one in 6th canto of Bhagavatam. Sorry, can you say again? Vamana Dev. No. I was thinking of Narad Muni and King Chitraketu. Yeah, remember that pastime? So if you read that pastime in 6th canto, after so many, it's mentioned that King Chitraketu, for so long he was trying to get a son. And every time he married, he was unable to beget a son because he was impotent. And it's mentioned he married either 1 million or 10 million times. 10 million. So he married 10 million times. He had 10 million wives. And each time he tried to beget a child through his wife, he was unsuccessful. Because according to his destiny, he wasn't supposed to get a child. So after trying for 10 million times with 10 million queens, he couldn't get a child. Then finally, by the arrangement of, I think, Angira Rishi, he was able to get a child whose name was Harsha Shoka. That he will give, this child will be the cause of both your happiness and also your distress. So naturally, he was so jubilant, after trying for 10 million times, finally he's got a son. So you can imagine how happy he must have been and how attached he must have been to a child. But soon after the child was born, that child died. He was poisoned by the other co-wives. So one can just imagine, how much he must have been lamenting. In the Bhagavatam, the description is given that he just went completely mad. He was lamenting like anything, crying and shouting. Him and his wife, they went completely mad in lamentation. And how did they overcome that lamentation? Narad Muni came, and again, what did he do? He spoke to them spiritual wisdom from the Shastra. He explained to them knowledge of the body, reincarnation. And by discussing this spiritual wisdom with the king and his queen, King Chitraketu was pacified. He was able to overcome his lamentation and his illusion. Like this, if we go through the Shastra, we'll see so many examples of this, of a particular person being in lamentation and illusion, and then some rishi or some sage will come and speak to them some wisdom, and just by hearing Shastra, they will be able to overcome lamentation. So all these different material problems that Narad Muni is talking about, we all face in our day-to-day lives. So whenever any one of these challenges come upon us, we can apply the spiritual solution that Narad Muni is offering in this 15th chapter of 7th canto. So that's to do with, so we discussed lust, anger, greed. Also we discussed how to overcome fear. And the 5th one we discussed was lamentation and illusion. Then Narad Muni explains how to overcome the threefold miseries. What are the threefold miseries? Yes, Adi Devik, Adi Atmik, and Adi Bhautika. So miseries caused by other living entities. So that's called Adi Bhautik. Then there is Adi Atmika, misery caused by one's own body, senses, and mind. Then there is Adi Deva, which is miseries caused by the devas, or miseries caused by material nature. So this is three kinds of miseries that all of us face. And Narad Muni, he gives solutions for all three of these problems also. Firstly, miseries caused by one's own mind and body. How to overcome that? Narad Muni says one can overcome miseries caused by one's own body and mind by practicing pranayama and hatha yoga. By this, Narad Muni says one can overcome miseries caused by one's own body and mind. So if we think about it, what is the miseries caused by a body? It's poor health, becoming sick, disease, and mind being disturbed. So these are all the miseries caused by our body and mind. So by practicing pranayama and hatha yoga, what that does, it keeps our body very healthy and strong. Not just physically, but also it brings our mind to the mode of goodness. So in this way, we can stay healthy and strong physically, and also mentally. It's good for our mental well-being to practice some sort of pranayama or yoga or asanas. So in this way, Narad Muni says one can overcome miseries caused by one's own body and mind. So as we become older and older, we'll notice, the body will give more and more problems. Actually, every day you'll notice some part of your body will give pain. Someday we'll have back pain. Someday the arm will pain. Someday the feet will pain. Someday the legs will pain. Someday we'll have headache. Someday we'll have earache. Every day one part of the body will pain. So that's the nature of this world. Body will always give some sort of trouble. Because again, according to Shastra, this world is like a prison. So those people who go to the prison, they're supposed to suffer. That's part of the system, or that's part of the making of the prison. So in the same way, this material body we've gotten is actually meant to give us suffering. But if we want to reduce the suffering that this material body is giving us, Narad Muni says one can practice some pranayam and some Ashtanga yoga, or some sort of asanas. And by doing these asanas and pranayam, one can keep his body fit and healthy, and one can keep his mind, in nice mode of goodness. So as devotees, it's good that every day we should do some sort of exercise that will help us keep this machine, which Krishna has given us, in a nice, healthy condition. So we can engage it nicely in Krishna's service. Even Srila Prabhupada, he used to do exercise every day. Every day, religiously, Prabhupada used to go on a morning walk, right, for his good health. Religiously every day, no matter where Prabhupada was, Prabhupada for 1 hour, he would go for a japa walk. The reason for that was because initially in New York, one doctor told Srila Prabhupada that, Swamiji, you're not doing any exercise. This is, I think, when Prabhupada had some kind of health problem, either a heart attack or something else. Then they called one doctor, and the doctor said that Swamiji is not exercising enough. He should do some sort of exercise. Every day he should go for a walk. And when Prabhupada heard this advice, from that day onwards, every day Prabhupada used to religiously walk. If the weather was bad outside, raining or snowing, then Prabhupada would walk indoor. Indoor in the room, Prabhupada would walk back and forth to do his daily exercise. So every day religiously, Prabhupada used to walk for like an hour every day. Why? Because this body is Krishna's, we have to maintain. Because if we're sickly and we're in bed, then what kind of seva can we do, right? So firstly, we need to take care of our health. If our health is strong, if our body and mind is strong, then with that strong, healthy body and mind, we can do so much seva for Krishna. That's why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, as devotees, our first priority should be health. Then comes sadhana, third comes seva. And many times we get these mixed up, Many times we put seva at the top, we will neglect our sadhana and we will neglect our health. So that's what most of us, are prone to doing. But no, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, first we should take care of our health. Because if we lose our health, we will lose everything else. If we become sick, how much sadhana can we do? If we're in bed, we have high fever, you won't feel so enthusiastic to read or hear, you just want to sleep. And seva, zero seva we can do. So that's why he says, first, make sure your health is proper. If health is proper, then you can do so much nice seva for Krishna, and we can do so much nice sadhana also, hearing and chanting. So, for miseries caused by one's body and mind, Narad Muni, he gives the solution of practicing some sort of pranayama or Ashtanga yoga, some sort of exercise. And as we all know, the best exercise is that given by the Vedas, given by Shastras, which is, the asanas. So it's good to do some sort of these asanas or pranayama that will help us keep our body fit and healthy. Then number 2 is the miseries caused by material nature or by the devas, which means miseries caused by hurricane, tsunami, earthquake, these sort of miseries. So how to overcome this? Narad Muni says one can overcome miseries caused by material nature by meditation in trance. What does that mean? That means that these miseries caused by material nature, can we do anything to stop it? Can we stop a hurricane from happening? Can we stop an earthquake? This and that? No, it's just beyond our control. So one should meditate in trance, which means one should take shelter of the holy name. That's our form of meditation, right? Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So all these miseries caused by material nature, there's nothing we can do about it, right? We can't stop it, so we just have to deal with it. So Narad Muni says, just meditate in trance. Just take shelter of the holy name, chant Hare Krishna, meditate on Krishna, hear Bhagavatam, read Bhagavatam, and just continue on with your devotional service. On this way, Narad Muni says, whenever any miseries from material nature comes, just remember Krishna. Just meditate on Krishna and don't worry about it. Don't get too worked about, why did this happen? Why did this earthquake happen? Or why did this happen? Why did that happen? Just accept it. Okay, it happened. Meditate in trance. Take shelter of the holy name. Chant Hare Krishna. So that's the solution Narad Muni gives for miseries caused by material nature or by the devas. It's beyond our control. We can't do anything about it. So just continue on with our bhakti practice. Then third is miseries caused by other living entities. So how to overcome miseries caused by other living entities? Narad Muni says, by good behavior, by good and kind behavior to other living entities, and by giving up envy of other living entities, one can overcome miseries caused by other living entities. So what's the connection between the two? We can think about the law of karma, right? Every action has a equal and opposite reaction. So if we as a person, if we as a personality are always behaving very nice and kindly with others, very friendly with others, then naturally that same thing will come back to us from other persons. If we are very rude, arrogant, if we're always speaking harshly with others, devotees or non-devotees, then naturally that same kind of vibes will also come towards us. If we deal with someone very harshly, then naturally their reaction would be to also deal with us harshly. If we deal with others with kindness, compassion, with a soft heart, then naturally their hearts will be melted and they'll also deal with us very kindly and in a friendly way, actually. So that's how Narad Muni says we can overcome miseries caused by other living entities. By good behavior, by friendly dealings, and by giving up envy of other living entities, one can overcome miseries caused by other living entities. Then one more Narad Muni gives is that of sleep. How to overcome sleep. So this is something that all of us face, especially during morning program, right? When we come after Mangalati, sit for japa, that time we have to really struggle, to stay awake. First we try to chant with our eyes closed, and then we start dozing. Then we chant with our eyes open. Then still we start dozing. Then we think, okay, we'll chant by standing up. Still we feel sleepy. Then we think, if I walk around and chant, we try that. Still we feel sleepy. Then finally we leave the temple room and chant out in the cold. I remember there was one devotee many years ago. He used to feel so sleepy during chanting, nothing worked. He tried sitting, he tried chanting with his eyes open, he tried walking around Tulsi Mani chanting, he tried chanting outside in the restaurant area. One day, no matter how much he was trying, he was feeling so sleepy. So what he did, he went to the cool room in the kitchen and he went and started chanting his rounds in the cool room to stay awake. So that's one problem all of us face, which is sleep. We first face this problem in the morning during japa, and then next comes Bhagavatam class. So how to overcome sleep? So the solution Narad Muni gives for sleep is by eating in the mode of goodness, one can overcome sleep. So what does it mean? Eating in the mode of goodness, which means we just eat enough to fill our belly, and especially it's said at night time we should have a light meal. We shouldn't have heavy dinner. So there's a saying that it's said that we should take breakfast like a prince, and lunch we should take like a king. And when it comes to taking dinner, we should take dinner like a beggar. So a beggar, how much food he gets? Just very little, right? So it said dinner we should take like a beggar, which means dinner we should take very little, take light, and the earlier at night we take our dinner, the better. Because if we have a heavy meal at night, then what happens? The body needs to use up a lot of energy to digest that food. So if we eat like a mountain of rice, sabji, halwa, puris, then our stomach needs a lot of time and energy to digest. So a lot of the energy of while we're sleeping, a lot of the energy of the body will go simply to digest all of that food. And because all of the energy of the body is going to digest that food, naturally we will end up sleeping longer. Or if we don't sleep longer during the morning program, we'll feel very sleepy. Because so much of the energy of the body is drained simply to digest that heavy food we took at night. That's why I said we just take dinner, we should take like a beggar. We should just take a little bit. So the stomach can digest very quickly. Very less energy is used by the stomach to digest the food. Then we don't need to sleep so much. Then we won't feel so sleepy during the morning program. So as the saying goes, breakfast we should eat like a prince, and lunch we should eat like a king. So lunch should be the big meal. That's the time when the power of digestion is at its peak. So it said when the sun is at the top, during midday, 12 or 1, that's the time when the power of digestion is the strongest. So that's why it said lunch we should take like a king. That should be the biggest meal of the day. And at night should be something small and light. So that's how one can overcome sleep. Now, finally, coming to envy. Last problem Narad Muni talks about is envy. How to overcome envy. So the solution Narad Muni gives to how to overcome envy is by giving up sense gratification. One can overcome envy. And Srila Prabhupada, he talks about this in today's purport also. Right at the start of the purport, Prabhupada says, in the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. So the root cause of envy is we want to be the boss, we want to be the controller, we want to be the enjoyer, we want everyone to worship us. So that's why it is said, if one can give up his desires for sense gratification, one can overcome envy. So this Prabhupada explains here, and same thing is explained by Narad Muni. So the root cause of envy is desire for sense gratification. We want to have that sense gratification of being in the center. We want to have that sense gratification of being glorified by others, by being the number one. And if someone else is excelling us, then naturally all the glorification, all the credit, all the name and fame will shift from us to that person. And our subtle sense gratification will reduce. So that's when envy creeps up. So that's what's happening to Indra here. He's the big guy, he's the king of the heavenly planets, and now someone is about to excel him. He's getting all the name, fame, opulence, and now he's becoming worried. If this guy takes my post, all the name, fame, glorification, all the puja worship will go to him. Nothing will come to me. What will happen to my subtle sense gratification? So then he becomes envious. Same thing we see with Govardhan Leela, right? That every year Indra is being worshipped by the Vrajavasis. One year the Vrajavasis, instead of worshipping him, they are worshipping Govardhan. So that year, Indra doesn't get that sense gratification of being worshipped by all the Vrajavasis. So then naturally he becomes angry and envious. How come this year I'm not getting all the puja and worship? So that same disease of envy, Prabhupada says, is in the hearts of every single person here in this material world, including all of us, to some degree or another. How to overcome it? Narad Muni says we need to give up this desire for sense gratification. So there is gross sense gratification, there is subtle sense gratification. Subtle sense gratification is we like to be glorified by others. We like to be in the center. We like to get praised by others, appreciated by others. You know, there's a certain kind of sense gratification that comes with name and fame. So that's why whenever we see someone else exceeding us in a particular service, we become insecure. Because if this person exceeds us, then, he will become, or she will become, the main attraction of everyone else. Everyone else will start going to that person, glorifying him. All the name and fame will go to him. Then we become insecure. So this is something we need to work on. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We'll stop here. If there's any question, yeah. Okay. So Prabhu is asking the question, what is the real motive of doing these sacrifices, like the horse sacrifices we're talking about here? So as Krishna says in Gita, the purpose of any sacrifice is to please Vishnu. Sacrifice means it has to be done for the pleasure of Vishnu. And that is the mood in which Prithu Maharaj is doing these sacrifices. He doesn't have this goal in mind that, okay, yeah, I'll do 100 horse sacrifices, then I will take the post of Indra. So that's not his motivation. His motivation is pure. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. He's doing the sacrifice simply for the pleasure of Vishnu. So that's what all sacrifices are meant for. But obviously, different people are at different levels. So not everyone will do a sacrifice with that mood or intention. Just like even here, in our temple, so many people come, right? But not everyone will come with pure desire to simply serve Krishna for his pleasure. Some people will come with some, ulterior motive in mind. That they had some problem in their family, so they come to pray to overcome that, or they want some wealth, overcome distress. Krishna talks about this in Gita, right? So the ideal situation is that any sacrifice we do should be simply to please Krishna, to please Vishnu. But not everyone is there on that pure devotional platform. So many times we'll see kings, they will do a sacrifice not for the pleasure of Vishnu, but to show their superiority, to show how great they are, or other reasons, material reasons. But the actual purpose of any sacrifice is to please Vishnu. I'm not sure, Prabhu. Yeah, where exactly? Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. To overcome anger, one needs to give up envy. Okay, how to overcome greed? You overcome greed, one needs to discuss the disadvantages of accumulating wealth. So we have to contemplate what are the disadvantages of getting more and more money. So in our mind, we should mentally think that, okay, if I want to get more and more money, I need to get second job, I have to work harder. If I work harder, so much time and energy will go, I won't be able to come to temple, I won't get time to attend class. And even after accumulating so much money, more anxiety will come into how to keep that money safe, how to protect it from thieves, this and that. So in this way, Naramani says one should discuss the disadvantages of accumulating wealth. And by discussing and contemplating the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, that desire to get more and more money, that greed to get more and more money will be gone actually. So Prabhu is asking a question that we need money for our maintenance and we need money for many spiritual projects, building temples, this and that. So how to know, how to balance, how hard I should work, how much money I should get. So that's different for different individuals. Principle is, Rupa Goswami says, we should accept what is favorable for devotional service and we should reject what is unfavorable for devotional service. For different people, this will be different. Some devotees, they can do 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, do a side business, get a lot of money and wealth, but at the same time, they can maintain the Krishna consciousness. They can still do their chanting, they can still do their hearing and reading. Others, they don't have that capacity, to do 2, 3 jobs and run a side business. If others, they try to imitate, their whole spiritual life will go down. They won't get time to finish their rounds. They won't get time to read Bhagavatam. For different individuals have different capacities, and different devotees have different karma or money karma. So according to our karma, we're destined to get a certain amount of wealth. So just because one particular devotee is very, very rich or getting a lot of money, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is more advanced in devotional service. It could just be that his money karma is more. So that's why he's getting more money. So if we want to compare ourselves with other devotees, the way we should compare is on the platform of bhakti. How much bhakti, that other devotees have. So that's what we should notice. That this devotee, he has so much bhakti, so he has so much bhava for Radha Gopinath, he has so much attachment. So we should notice that and we should aspire to get that same level of devotion and bhakti that this particular devotee has in their service. So when it comes to accumulating wealth, different devotees have different money karma and different devotees have different capacities. Some devotees, they can work very hard and get a lot of money, but at the same time, they can maintain their consciousness. They can be Krishna conscious, they can chant their rounds, they can still get time to read Bhagavatam. Others, if they try to imitate, they will fall down, They will miss their rounds, they won't get time to hear and chant properly. So we have to be honest with ourselves and see how much is possible for us. Principle is how to know how much to do and when to stop. If we're not getting time to properly chant and hear, if we're losing our Krishna consciousness, then that's a sign that maybe we're over-endeavoring for material things, for money, or so on and so forth. So the moment we notice our Krishna consciousness is going down, then that's a sign that actually we're overworking or over-accumulating wealth. But if we're able to get more money and still maintain consciousnness, then why not? We can go for it. We can get more money and engage that money in Krishna's service. So that is good actually. But we have to see it's different for individual to individual. Different individuals have different capacities, right? So we should just be honest with ourselves. Okay. Nantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Thai Gaur Pramanande.